My dear friends, in life we all want success, whether it is in our career, relationships, or personal growth. But the challenge is most of us are busy. Busy like a person running around the kitchen, forgetting why he even entered it in the first place. Pause for laughter. We want to do everything but end up doing nothing with excellence. Not success is not just about hard work, it is about focused work. The sun gives light everywhere, but when the same rays are focused through a lens, they can burn paper. That's the power of focus. Without focus, our energy gets scattered. With focus, even an ordinary effort becomes extraordinary. The problem today is not lack of knowledge. The problem is distraction. Notifications are louder than our goals. We check our phones more than we check our thoughts. And then we wonder why success feels so far away. The secret is simple. If we want to achieve success, we must first learn to achieve focus. My dear friends, one of the biggest reasons why many people struggle in life is not because they are lazy, not because they are incapable, but because they lack clarity of purpose. Imagine a man boarding a train without knowing the destination. He sits comfortably, drinks tea, chats with passengers, and even enjoys the journey. But sooner or later, when the train stops, he realizes, oh no, this is not where I wanted to go. Isn't that the story of so many lives today? We are all busy moving, but very few know where they are moving towards. Clarity of purpose is the starting point of focus. If we don't know what success means to us, how will we ever achieve it? Sadly, many of us borrow the definition of success from others. Society tells us success means wealth, so we chase money. Family says success means position, so we chase titles. Friends say success means luxury, so we chase possessions. But at the end, after running in 10 different directions, we feel emptier than before. That is why it is so important to pause and ask ourselves, what does success mean to me? Because if we don't define it, the world will define it for us. Think about a magnifying glass. When you hold it in your hand and move it randomly, nothing happens. But when you keep it steady under the sun, focusing the rays on one single point, it can burn paper. The sun was always there, the glass was always there, but nothing happened until focus and clarity came together. Similarly, our potential is always there. But unless we focus it with clarity, we will never unleash its power. Clarity also saves us from unnecessary comparison. When you know your purpose, you stop competing with everyone else. If your goal is to run a marathon, you won't waste time comparing yourself with a sprinter. Your path is yours, your race is yours. The moment you understand this, half of your distraction will automatically disappear. But clarity doesn't mean you need to know the entire map of your life. No, you just need to know the next step. A driver on a foggy night cannot see the whole road, but as long as his headlights show him the next 50 meters, he can keep moving. In the same way, clarity is not about predicting the entire future. It is about having enough light to take the next step with confidence. And yes, clarity requires courage. Because once you know your purpose, you must also be ready to say no to things that don't align with it. If your purpose is health, you will have to say no to unhealthy habits. If your purpose is growth, you may have to say no to toxic friendships. If your purpose is excellence, you will have to say no to laziness. Every yes to your purpose will demand 100 no's to distractions. So my friends, before chasing success, let us pause and reflect. What exactly am I chasing? A life without clarity is like a ship without a compass, busy sailing, but lost in the ocean. A life with clarity is like an arrow aimed at the target, sharp, straight, and unstoppable. Once we discover that clarity of purpose, focus becomes natural and success becomes inevitable. My dear friends, many people today proudly say, I'm a multitasker. They believe juggling 10 things at once makes them more productive. But let me ask you, if you try to cook food, talk on the phone, check messages, and watch TV at the same time, what happens? The food burns, the phone conversation gets confusing, the messages don't get proper replies, and you don't even remember what happened in the show. In the end, everything is half done, nothing is done well. That's the reality of multitasking. Multitasking gives us the illusion of speed, but steals the quality of our work. It is like trying to row two boats at once. you end up falling into the water. Real success comes not from doing many things at once, but from prioritizing and doing the most important thing at the right time with full attention. Think about it. Even nature teaches us the same lesson. The sun shines everywhere, but when its rays are concentrated through a magnifying glass, it can set fire. A river flows in many directions, but when it is channeled through a dam, it produces electricity. Focused energy is powerful energy. Scattered energy is wasted energy. In fact, history is full of examples. Great inventors, leaders, and thinkers didn't achieve greatness because they did hundreds of things at once. They achieved greatness because they knew how to prioritize. Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb while answering phone calls, cooking dinner, and checking social media notifications. He gave his mind completely to one task until he succeeded. The problem with multitasking is also psychological. When we switch from one task to another, our brain loses focus. Science says it takes several minutes to regain full concentration after shifting tasks. That means multitasking is not saving time, it is wasting time. And yet, in our daily lives, we jump from email to WhatsApp, from WhatsApp to Instagram, from Instagram to random thoughts, and then wonder why nothing is moving forward. So, what is the solution? It is to prioritize. Ask yourself, what is the most important task I must do right now that will bring me closer to my goal? Then do that one thing with all your energy. When you finish, move to the next. You will be surprised how much more you achieve when you focus on one thing at a time. Prioritization is not about ignoring other tasks. It is about giving the right attention at the right time. If you try to water 10 plants at once with a single glass of water, none of them will grow properly. But if you water one plant well, it will flourish and then you can move to the next. Notice success is not in touching everything. It is in nourishing the right thing at the right time. Also, let's not confuse being a busy with being a productive. Many people are extremely busy all day, but achieve very little. Why? Because they are caught in multitasking without prioritizing. On the other hand, someone who focuses on 2 or 3 high priority tasks each day will move ahead far faster. Remember this, life is short, energy is limited, and distractions are endless. If we try to do everything, we will achieve nothing. But if we learn to prioritize, even a few tasks done well will take us to great heights. The real secret of productivity is not multitasking. It is the wisdom of knowing what matters most and giving it your best. My dear friends, let us be honest. Our mind is like a monkey. It keeps jumping from one branch of thought to another. One moment it is thinking about work, the next about dinner, the next about some argument years ago, and suddenly about the future that hasn't even happened yet. The real challenge of focus is not in managing time, but in managing the mind. If the mind is not disciplined, no amount of planning or scheduling will work. Discipline of the mind is like training a wild horse. Left on its own, the horse will run in every direction. But when trained, it can carry you to your destination. The same is true for the mind. If it is uncontrolled, it drags us towards distractions. But if it is trained, it becomes our greatest ally in achieving success. Think about students during exams. Many sit with books open in front of them, but how many actually study with full concentration? The eyes are on the page, but the mind is on the cricket match, the latest movie, or what their friends are doing. This is proof that having time or resources is not enough. The mind must be disciplined to stay where it should be. One simple example is meditation or mindfulness practice. Just sitting silently for a few minutes daily and observing your breath can do wonders. It teaches the mind to come back to the present moment. Initially, the mind runs away, but with practice, it learns to stay. Just like going to the gym makes your muscles stronger, meditation makes your focus stronger. Another important aspect of mental discipline is controlling impulses. For example, you sit to do some important work, but suddenly a notification pops up on your phone. The undisciplined mind immediately picks it up, scrolls for just 2 minutes, and before you know it, half an hour is gone. The disciplined mind, on the other hand, says, not now. I will check later. That simple choice can make the difference between average results and extraordinary results. Let's take the example of great athletes. Do you think they became champions only by practicing their physical skills? No. They also disciplined their minds. Before entering the field, they trained themselves to block out the noise of the crowd, the pressure of expectation, and the fear of failure. They focus only on the game. That is the power of a disciplined mind. It stays steady even in chaos. But mind discipline doesn't happen overnight. Just as we cannot become physically fit after one workout, we cannot expect instant control over the mind. It takes daily effort. It may mean reducing unnecessary distractions, creating a routine, practicing silence, and choosing carefully what we feed our minds. Because what we watch, read, and listen to is what shapes our thinking. And here's a simple truth. A disciplined mind creates freedom. Many people think discipline restricts them, but in reality it liberates them. Imagine a river without boundaries. It floods and destroys everything. But when the river has banks, its water flows powerfully, giving life and energy. Similarly, when the mind has discipline, it doesn't waste energy in random directions. It channels energy towards meaningful goals. So, my friends, if we want success, we must first conquer the battlefield of the mind. Because if we win inside, we will surely win outside. The mind is either our greatest servant or our worst master. The choice is ours. My dear friends, distractions are like small leaks in a big ship. The ship may be strong, the captain may be skilled, and the destination may be clear. But if the leaks are not fixed, the ship will sink before reaching the shore. In the same way, our life may have talent, intelligence, and ambition. But if we don't learn to detach from distractions, our focus will slowly sink and success will remain far away. Let's be real. Today's world is full of distractions. A single notification can pull us away from our goals. The phone rings, a message pops up, a new video is recommended, and suddenly we lose half an hour without even realizing it. Sometimes it is not the phone, but the endless chatter of the mind, worrying about the future, replaying old memories, or imagining things that never happened. Distraction is not just external, it is also internal. The problem is not that distractions exist. The problem is that we get attached to them. We keep feeding them with our attention. Imagine trying to light a fire while constantly pouring water on it. The fire will never burn strong. Our focus is the fire. Our distractions are the water. If we want the fire of success to burn bright, we must stop pouring water on it. Let me give you a simple example. Have you noticed how children can sometimes play with one toy for hours, but adults cannot focus on one task for even 10 minutes? Why? Because as we grow, we collect more attachments to notifications, to opinions of others, to unnecessary comparisons, to worries. The more attachments we have, the easier it is for distractions to control us. One of the most powerful ways to detach from distractions is to create boundaries. For instance, when it's time to study or work, put the phone aside. Not on the table, not in your pocket. Actually away, out of sight, out of mind. Similarly, when it's time to rest fully. Detachment means giving full attention to what matters and cutting off what doesn't. Another way is to train the mind to differentiate between urgent and important. Many distractions feel urgent, like that message you just received or that notification you want to check. But ask yourself, is it important? Will it contribute to my growth, my peace, or my success? If not, it can wait. Every time you choose what is important or what is urgent, you strengthen your focus muscle. And let us not forget, people can also be distractions. Not every conversation deserves your time. Not every argument needs your response. And not every criticism requires your attention. Detachment does not mean arrogance. It means wisdom. It means knowing where to invest your energy and where to withdraw. Look at great achievers in history. They were not superhumans. They were simply people who learned to detach from distractions. While the world was busy gossiping, entertaining, and wasting time, they were busy working on their vision. That is why their names are remembered today. Detachment also brings peace. Because when you are not constantly reacting to every distraction, you conserve energy. Imagine trying to run a marathon. but stopping every few steps to pick up random pebbles on the road. You will get tired before even reaching halfway. Distractions are those pebbles. Detachment is the wisdom to leave them behind and keep running towards the finish line. So, my friends, the truth is simple. Success does not require us to do everything. It requires us to avoid what is unnecessary. The more we detach from distractions, the more we attach from distractions, the more we attach to our goals. And that is how focus is strengthened, not by doing more, but by doing less of what doesn't matter. My dear friends, success is never the result of one big leap. It is the product of small, consistent steps taken every single day. If you look closely at the lives of successful people, you will notice one common factor. They all built strong daily habits. Look at strong daily habits. Because while motivation can inspire us for a moment, habits sustain us for a lifetime. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't need to set an alarm or read an inspirational quote to remind yourself to brush every morning. It has become a habit. And because it is a habit, you never miss it. You never miss it. Now imagine if we could build habits for success the same way. Habits of discipline, habits of focus, habits of growth. Success would no longer feel like a burden. It would become natural. The problem is, many of us overestimate the power of one big effort and underestimate the power of daily habits. For example, some people go to the gym for 3 hours on one day and then never return for weeks. Others promise themselves they will read 50 books a year, but quit after finishing half of one. This inconsistency comes because they rely only on motivation, not on habits. But the truth is, even 15 minutes of exercise daily is more powerful than 3 hours once in a while. Reading 10 pages a day will take you farther than making impossible promises and giving up. Let me share a small story. A wise teacher once told his students, if you improve just 1% every day, in 1 year you will be 37 times better than you were at the start. The students were amazed. 1% sounds so small, but when compounded daily, it leads to massive growth. That is the power of habits. Small repeated actions that accumulate into extraordinary results. Habits also shape our identity. Every time you practice a good habit, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. For instance, if you meditate daily, you are reinforcing the identity of someone calm and mindful. If you write daily, you are reinforcing the identity of a writer. If you choose healthy food daily, you are reinforcing the identity of a fit and disciplined person. But over time, these small identities build a life of success. On the other hand, bad habits also accumulate. Missing one workout doesn't make you unhealthy, but missing consistently will. Eating junk food once doesn't harm much, but repeating it daily does. Checking social media for 5 minutes may not hurt, but doing it 100 times a day destroys focus. Just as good habits compound into success, bad habits compound into failure. That is why we must be very careful about the small actions we repeat every day. The beauty of daily habits is that they don't require extreme effort. All they require is consistency. You don't need to run a marathon every morning, or just start with a short walk. You don't need to read an entire book in one sitting. Just read a few pages. You don't need to meditate for an hour. Just sit quietly for 5 minutes. When done daily, these small habits create powerful momentum. And the best part is, habits free the mind from decision fatigue. Imagine if every morning you had to argue with yourself about whether or not to brush your teeth. It would be exhausting. But since it's automatic, it doesn't take mental energy. The same happens when success habits become automatic. They don't drain you. They support you. IQ, they support you. So my friends, if we want to achieve great success, we must not only dream big, but also act small consistently. Because the grand buildings of life are not built in one day. They are built brick by brick, habit by habit, action by action by action. My dear friends, one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves in this noisy, distracted world is the gift of mindfulness. Mindfulness simply means being fully present in whatever we are doing, instead of letting the mind wander in 1,000 different directions. Too often we are physically in one place but mentally in another. We are eating a meal but thinking about tomorrow's meeting. We are with our family but scrolling on the phone. We are at work but dreaming about a vacation. This scattered attention not only reduces our effectiveness but also takes away the joy of living. Mindfulness in action means putting your heart, mind, and energy into the task at hand, no matter how small it may be. A wise saying goes, if you are washing dishes, wash dishes. It sounds simple, but it means that when you are doing something, give it your complete attention. Washing dishes with mindfulness can become meditation, while doing it with distraction becomes stress. Let me share a simple story. A student once asked his teacher, Master, how do you find peace? The teacher replied, when I eat, I eat. When I walk, I walk. When I sleep, I sleep. The student said, but Master, everyone does that. The teacher smiled and said, no. Most people, when they eat, their mind is elsewhere. When they walk, they are lost in worries. When they sleep, they are restless with thoughts. But when I do something, I do only that. This is the essence of mindfulness, total presence in action. When we are mindful, even ordinary actions become extraordinary. For example, imagine writing an important email while also checking messages, answering calls, and listening to music. The result will be average at best. But if you sit in silence and write with full focus, your words will carry power and clarity. The difference is not in the action, but in the attention you bring to it. Mindfulness also improves relationships. How often do we listen to someone while secretly planning what we are going to reply? That is not listening. That is waiting for your turn to speak. True listening means being fully present with the person without distraction. When we listen mindfully, people feel valued and connections deepen. Many conflicts in life could be avoided if we simply listen with full presence. Another benefit of mindfulness is that it reduces stress. Most of our anxiety comes not from the present but from living in the past or future. The mind keeps replaying old mistakes or imagining future problems. But mindfulness anchors us in the now, where life is actually happening. When you breathe deeply and return your attention to the present task, half your worries dissolve because the present moment is always manageable. Mindfulness doesn't require us to sit on a mountain or live in silence. It can be practiced in daily life. When you eat, taste every bite. When you walk, feel every step. When you work, give your undivided attention. When you talk to someone, be truly there. Slowly, mindfulness becomes not just an exercise but a lifestyle. And here is the most beautiful part. Mindfulness multiplies focus. When you are mindful, distractions lose their power. You are no longer pulled by what happened yesterday or what might happen tomorrow. You give yourself fully to the moment, and that moment becomes powerful. This is why athletes, artists, and performers often say they were in the zone. That zone is nothing but mindfulness in action, complete presence, complete flow. So, my friends, mindfulness is not about doing different things. It is about doing the same things differently by being fully alive in them. Whether it is working, eating, or simply breathing, mindfulness transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary experiences. My dear friends, if focus is the key to success, then energy is the fuel that powers it. You can have the clearest goals and the best intentions, but if you lack the energy to pursue them, you will struggle to move forward. Success is not just about managing time, it is about managing energy. After all, what is the use of having 24 hours in a day if you spend most of them tired, drained, and unmotivated? Think about it. A smartphone may have all the best features, but without battery charge, it is just a dead piece of metal. In the same way, a human being may have intelligence, skills, and talent, but without energy, none of it can be used effectively. This is why energy management is as important as time management, if not more. There are 3 types of energy we need to manage: physical, mental, and emotional. Physical energy comes from how we treat our bodies. If we constantly deprive ourselves of sleep, eat unhealthy food, and avoid exercise, how can we expect to stay focused? A tired body cannot carry a sharp mind. Even the brightest lamp will not glow without electricity. Similarly, our brain cannot function at its best without the right care for our body. Simple habits like sleeping on time, eating nourishing food, and moving our body daily can dramatically boost our productivity. Mental energy is about what we feed our minds. If we constantly consume negativity, news filled with fear, conversations filled with gossip, or content that distracts us, we drain our mental energy. On the other hand, reading inspiring books, learning new skills, and practicing positive thinking recharge our minds. The mind is like a garden. If we don't plant flowers, weeds will grow. To keep mental energy high, we must consciously choose what thoughts and inputs we allow in. Emotional energy is equally crucial. Have you noticed how one negative interaction with someone can drain your entire day? Or how a single word of encouragement can uplift you for hours? Our emotional state deeply impacts our focus. Surrounding ourselves with supportive people, practicing gratitude, and letting go of grudges help us preserve emotional energy. Holding on to anger or envy is like carrying heavy bags while running a race. It slows us down. Energy management also requires balance. Some people think working endlessly without rest is the path to success. But in reality, burning yourself out only makes you less effective. Just as a bow must be pulled back before it can release an arrow powerfully, the human body and mind need rest to function at their best. Pausing to recharge is not a waste of time. It is an investment in efficiency. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you are chopping wood with an axe. At first, it cuts smoothly, but after a while, the blade becomes dull. If you keep chopping without sharpening it, you will exhaust yourself and achieve less. But if you stop for a while, sharpen the blade, and then continue, you will cut faster and with less effort. In the same way, when we pause to rest, sleep, or relax, we are sharpening our energy for greater results. And here is something important. Energy is contagious. When you are energetic, others around you feel inspired. When you are drained and negative, that energy spreads too. This is why leaders, teachers, and achievers always focus on maintaining high energy. They know it not only drives their own success, but also uplifts those around them. So, my friends, if we want to stay focused and achieve success, we must learn to protect and nurture our energy, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Because when energy is managed well, even the toughest tasks become possible. My dear friends, in our race for success, many of us make one big mistake. We keep running without pausing. We believe that if we stop, even for a moment, we will fall behind. But the truth is quite the opposite. Learning to pause is not weakness, it is wisdom. Just as a bow must be pulled back before it shoots an arrow forward with power, sometimes we too need to step back, slow down, and breathe before we can move ahead with strength and clarity. Have you ever noticed how nature itself works in rhythms of pause and activity? The sun rises and sets, day gives way to night. Seasons change from growth to rest, and then growth again. Even the heart beats with pauses, contraction and relaxation. If there were no pause, there would be no life. In the same way, our personal life needs pauses, moments of stillness, to keep us strong and focused. But what do? We run endlessly from one task to another, checking emails, rushing to meetings, scrolling through notifications, trying to squeeze productivity into every second to a second. The result? We burn out. Our body gets exhausted, our mind gets cluttered, and our creativity dies. Have you noticed that the best ideas often come not when you are forcing yourself to think, but when you are relaxed, while taking a walk, while showering, or while sitting quietly? That is the power of pausing. It allows clarity and creative flow. A pause is not about doing nothing. It is about reconnecting with yourself. When we pause, we give space for reflection. Am I moving in the right direction? Is this work aligned with my purpose? Am I spending my time on what truly matters? Without pauses, we risk running fast on the wrong road, only to realize later that success feels empty. Let me share a simple story. A woodcutter was once challenged to cut down as many trees as possible in a day. He started chopping furiously, but with each hour his axe grew dull and his speed decreased. Another woodcutter, however, stopped every hour to sharpen his axe. At the end of the day, the second woodcutter had cut far more trees, even though he spent time resting and sharpening. The first one was too busy to pause, but the one who paused wisely became more effective. The same applies to our life. If we don't sharpen ourselves with pauses, our effort becomes less productive, no matter how hard we work. A pause also helps us manage our emotions. How many times have we regretted saying something in anger? If only we had paused for a few seconds before reacting, things would have been different. A pause gives us the space to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. It gives wisdom a chance to step in before words or actions escape our control. Learning to pause doesn't require hours of meditation or long vacations, though those help too. It can be as simple as taking a few deep breaths in the middle of work, walking away from the screen for 5 minutes, or sitting quietly without your phone. These small pauses act as resets, refreshing the mind and restoring energy. And here is the beauty of it. When we pause, we don't lose time, we gain it. Because the time spent in stillness makes the time spent in action far more productive. Just like silence between musical notes creates melody, pauses in life create harmony. So my friends, let us remember that success is not about rushing endlessly. It is about moving wisely, and sometimes the wisest step forward begins with a step back, a pause. My dear friends, no matter how strong or focused we are, our surroundings deeply influence us. A seed, no matter how powerful, cannot grow into a tree if it is planted in poor soil. But the same seed, when placed in fertile soil, grows tall and fruitful. Similarly, our environment, the people we interact with, the places we spend time in, and the energy we surround ourselves with, plays a huge role in our success. Sometimes we think willpower alone is enough. We believe we can achieve success no matter where we are or who we are or who we are with. But in reality, willpower is like a candle. It burns bright but can be blown out if the wind is too strong. Our surroundings are that wind. If we are surrounded by negativity, constant complaints, or people who pull us down, it becomes very difficult to keep our flame alive. On the other hand, if we are in an environment that uplifts us, supports us, and pushes us to grow, our flame becomes stronger and steadier. Think about how iron sharpens iron. A knife becomes sharper when rubbed against a stone. Likewise, we become sharper, wiser, and stronger when we surround ourselves with people who challenge us to grow. If we spend time with those who are lazy, careless, and unfocused, it will quietly rub off on us. But if we are around people who are disciplined, positive, and hardworking, their energy will inspire us to rise to the same level. Let me share a simple example. Have you ever noticed how in some homes or offices the atmosphere feels heavy and draining, while in others it feels light and inspiring? That is not an accident. It is the result of the environment created by the people there. Surroundings are not just physical, they are emotional and mental as well. If we keep ourselves in places filled with clutter, noise, and negativity, our mind will also feel cluttered. But if we choose spaces that are clean, calm, and filled with positivity, our focus naturally increases. Even nature teaches us this. A lotus grows beautifully even in muddy water, but that does not mean the mud makes it flourish. The lotus has unique qualities that protect it. For most of us, however, we are not lotuses yet. We are seeds still growing roots, and for seeds, the soil matters. This is why we must carefully choose who we spend time with, what conversations we allow into our life, and which environments we place ourselves in. Sometimes, changing surroundings doesn't mean leaving everything behind. It may simply mean creating small positive spaces for ourselves in. For example, dedicating a corner in your home for reading or meditation, keeping your workspace tidy, or spending more time with people who inspire you and less with those who drain you. Even small changes in environment can lead to big changes in focus and productivity. And here is something powerful. Our surroundings don't just influence us, we also influence our surroundings. If you bring positivity, gratitude, and focus into your environment, others around you will feel uplifted too. In this way, by choosing your surroundings wisely and contributing positively to them, you create a cycle of growth and inspiration. So, my friends, let us not underestimate the power of surroundings. Success is not achieved in isolation. It grows in the right soil, with the right sunlight, and in the right company. When we take care of our environment takes care of our focus, and our focus takes care of our success. My dear friends, one of the most underrated but most powerful ingredients of success is consistency. Talent is important, discipline is important, focus is important. But without consistency, even the most gifted person cannot achieve lasting success. A person who practices a little every day will go farther than someone who works hard once in a while and then disappears for weeks. Success is not about intensity alone, it is about persistence. Think of water. A single drop falling on a rock does nothing. But when the drops fall again and again, day after day, year after year, even the hardest rock gives way. The drops are not powerful because of their size, but because of their consistency. In the same way, our small, repeated efforts have the power to break through the hardest challenges in life. Many people start with great enthusiasm. They begin a new project, a fitness plan, or a personal goal with excitement. But after a few days or weeks, the enthusiasm fades, excuses take over, and the goal is abandoned. This is why gyms are full in January but almost empty by February. The problem is not the lack of effort, but the lack of consistency. Let me share a simple story. A young man once asked a wise teacher, "What is the secret of success?" The teacher replied, "Consistency." The young man thought for a moment and then asked again, "But what if I fail?" The teacher smiled and said, "Then be consistently trying again." Success is not about never falling. It is about always getting up and continuing the journey. Consistency creates trust, not only in others, but also in ourselves. When we keep showing up for our goals, day after day, we start to believe in our own strength. That self-belief is priceless. On the other hand, when we break promises to ourselves by quitting halfway, we weaken our confidence. Each time we keep going, no matter how small the step, we prove to ourselves that we are reliable. And when we trust ourselves, the world begins to trust us too. Consistency also beats talent. A talented person who lacks consistency will often be surpassed by a less talented but consistent person. For example, a student who studies 1 hour every day will usually perform better than someone who crams for 10 hours just before the exam. A writer who writes 1 page daily will complete a book in a year, while someone waiting for inspiration may never finish even a chapter. Another beautiful aspect of consistency is that it compounds. Just like money grows when invested regularly, our skills, habits, and efforts grow when practiced consistently. 10 minutes of daily practice may feel small, but over time, it builds mastery. Great musicians, athletes, and leaders didn't become great overnight. They became great because they kept practicing, learning, and improving every single day, even when no one was watching. And let us be honest, consistency is not always exciting. Some days will feel boring, some days will feel tiring, and some days progress will seem invisible. But those are the days that matter most. Because consistency is not about how you perform when you feel motivated. It is about how you perform when you don't. If you keep going on the tough days, success will eventually meet you on the other side. So, my friends, never underestimate the power of small, repeated actions. Great success is not built in a day, it is built daily. And in the end, the crown of victory does not belong to the fastest starter, but to the one who keeps going steadily, patiently, and consistently.